When Apple's current iPhone SE was released almost 2 full years ago, we were actually pretty impressed by everything it packed in for the budget $399 price, especially the top-of-the-line A13 chip. And for the past few months, we've been seeing rumors of Apple's upcoming next-generation iPhone SE 3 with a brand new redesign, finally getting rid of the home button while either adding Face ID or a new Touch ID power button, as well as a display size around 5.8 inches, kind of like the iPhone 11 Pro. And with that, a full spec upgrade across the board was expected, with 5G connectivity, a new Apple chip, and more. And then on top of all of that, it was also likely that it would be coming with Apple's new MaxSafe charging feature, which I've really been enjoying ever since the release of the iPhone 12. So I kind of imagined it like an upgraded modern iPhone XR, but with a budget $399 price tag, which is honestly a really good deal and very competitive against the rest of the Android smartphone market. However, we've been recently getting some very disappointing leaks and rumors concerning this new iPhone SE 3. And if they turn out to be true, I have a pretty good feeling that this will be the worst iPhone upgrade in Apple's history, and it could very easily fail in the eyes of consumers all around the world. And if you don't believe me, I'll be explaining my reasoning in this video. So with that said, let me get into these leaks just so you'll know how bad this situation can potentially get. Earlier this month, Dylan DKT finally came back and updated his tweet from last year about the iPhone SE 3, but this time saying that the awesome redesigned model that we were waiting for has been pushed back until 2024. Instead, we'll be simply getting the same iPhone SE design from 2020, except now with 5G and a spec bump. Yes, that's right, literally the same design with the old 4.7-inch display with massive bezels and a home button. And Apple plans to sell this until 2024. That's 4 years of the exact same design. Now you can see why I think this is a problem, because if you look at any of the Android competition, they're giving us modern smartphones for around the same price. For example, we have the Google Pixel 5a with 5G for only $449, and this device gets a really good camera, a 6.3-inch OLED display with a hole punch camera cutout, 128 gigs of base storage instead of only 64 on the iPhone SE, an actual powered brick in the box, which you don't get with this phone, and a battery that's literally 2.5 times bigger than the one inside the iPhone SE. And that's one of the problems I want to discuss, because if Apple is using the same exact design and chassis for the new iPhone SE 3, then the battery life is still going to be terrible, like we saw in Mr. Who's the Boss's recent battery life drain test, where the SE only lasted 3 hours and 38 minutes before shutting down. So if Apple's going to be adding 5G and a spec bump, the battery life will likely be even worse unless they find a way to magically increase the battery size within the same chassis. So paying $50 more for the Pixel 5a with 5G to get a battery that's 2.5 times bigger is definitely worth it, along with all of the other advantages. And now if we take a look at Samsung's latest Galaxy A52 5G, it comes with a 4,500 mAh battery, 128 gigs of storage, of course 5G, and a 120Hz OLED display for $400 right now. That is simply a way better phone for the price, so Apple using the same old design until 2024 is just a bad choice in my opinion. And don't worry, it's not just my opinion, because in my recent Apple Spring event video, some of our Indian commenters let me know that many Indians aren't really interested in this cheap old iPhone design. They'd rather go for the iPhone 11 or an Android phone instead. One commenter also mentioned that since the iPhone SE is still not manufactured in India, they have to pay quite a bit more because of import taxes. So because of that, it's more worth it for them to just buy an Android phone instead, or go for a higher end but older iPhone model, which they could probably find used. And to me, this makes sense because an iPhone SE with the same old boring design isn't appealing at all. I honestly don't care much for this, and it actually feels like an embarrassment on Apple's part compared to a lot of the other Android phones in its price range. But now getting back to some of the new iPhone SE 3 leaks, Ross Young recently confirmed that the next SE model will still have a 4.7-inch LCD display, and he is very reliable since he currently has a 100% track record in terms of display leaks. And then a little bit later, he also mentioned that a launch in late April is the most likely outcome for this new 4.7-inch SE. So if this new iPhone SE 3 uses the old design, I don't think I'll be recommending it to anyone over some of the other Android options, or maybe even the iPhone 12, which should drop down in price later this year. And in my opinion, the worst part about the new iPhone SE 3 will be that it won't support MagSafe charging, which is one of my favorite iPhone features ever, and it would suck for someone to buy a new iPhone and not get to use MagSafe. So because of how boring this iPhone will be, I actually think it makes sense for Apple to release the new SE as a press release in April instead of showing it off at an event. It's just not as interesting as everything else out there. And then with all that said, we've also been getting some rumors that the SE3 will be coming with either the A14 Bionic chip or the A15. But in my opinion, that much power is overkill for the SE because the display will be sticking to the same 60 Hz, and you can't really do much on a display that's this small. So it won't really be a great experience for gaming or anything else, with the power just kind of going to waste. The only benefit of a new chip will be an improvement in efficiency for hopefully a little bit better battery life. So all in all, I just don't think that it's enough for Apple to add 5G and upgraded specs to the iPhone SE because those things aren't enough to make it compelling, even at a lower $399 price, especially if they're going to be selling it for the next year or maybe even until 2024. So because of that, I'd have to say that if this new SE3 truly does stick to the same 4.7-inch design with a home button and without MagSafe, then I honestly believe that it's gonna fail, even in emerging markets like India. So I really wish Apple just gave us the redesigned model this year instead of waiting until next year. But of course, Apple is gonna do what they're gonna do, and maybe they're intentionally making the SE look bad just to make the more expensive iPhones look good. Who knows, but if you think I'm totally wrong about everything that I've said in this video, please let me know down in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed it, then go ahead and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one, and definitely check out one of those two right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.